Enterprise solutions firm Infor from the United States makes much of the fact that it takes a great deal of speed to get the product to the consumer these days. You've been with Infor for about 2 years, I believe. What's the situation now where it comes to speed in the supply chain?
The industry is in a constant state of change. What's the old expression? The more things change, the more they stay the same. The fashion industry is constantly changing, constantly evolving, but also very much the same. We're still working with textiles, we're working with apparel, we're working with footwear, home textiles, and we're working with accessories. Anything that has or is driven by the constraints or the requirements of fashion. You need styles, you need colors, you need sizes. It's not a one-size-fits-all world, as we jokingly say in the industry, one size fits none. For the longest time now, I've been in the industry obviously for a long time, we've watched Hong Kong be the epicenter, but constantly evolving just like the industry. The role that Hong Kong has played and is playing. Today, Hong Kong as part of Greater China is very much the center of two major components of the industry. One certainly is the logistics center. Things don't move if Hong Kong doesn't move them. The other part of it is avenue to capital. Capital is an important part of the industry. Obviously, the ability to get the funds to drive your industry, your company forward. Hong Kong is a key to that.
But is the situation now very different where it comes to fashion? Because the Chinese mainland as a production base is very different from what it was a few years ago.
Well, let's go back to the more things change, the more they stay the same. China is and has been a manufacturing hub for the textile, apparel, footwear industry for quite some time now. It wasn't until the early 80s that people began to look at China as the new manufacturing base. Where was it prior to that? Several spots of Asia. Where was it prior to that? The United States. Where was it prior to that? England. You know, the industry has moved and moved and moved, and of course it will move again. But one of the things that people need to recognize is that this is just part of normal economic evolution. China is changing. China is evolving. China is evolving economically. So instead of exporting as much textiles and apparel, it's exporting more planes, trains, and automobiles. There's more money in the export of large capital goods than there is in volumetric products like textiles, apparel, and footwear. Volumetric simply means that it doesn't weigh as much as the volume that it takes up. It takes up too much space on a ship versus shipping a locomotive from here to France or from here to the United States.
So where it comes to manufacturing, do you see the center of gravity really changing from China to South Asia and Southeast Asia?
I don't really think so. And again, just from my position, I think that if we look and scratch just a little bit, we'll find that a lot of the Southeast Asian organizations are actually Chinese-owned. Chinese or Hong Kong. I don't really discern a difference between Chinese ownership and Hong Kong ownership. But we take a look at an awful lot of what's happening in the way of growth in Vietnam, Cambodia, Bangladesh. We take a look at what's happening in other parts of Southeast Asia, and we see that, in fact, a lot of it is either Chinese-owned, Chinese-controlled, Chinese-run, or Chinese-inspired.
So what's the sort of advice that you'd give to U.S. companies coming to Asia? Would you see Hong Kong as a platform?
Without a doubt. There's one perhaps piece of advice that I would give to any Western organization that wanted to begin trying to sell in Greater China, and that would be to find the right partners. Find the people who know what they're doing.